So it's been a while since I've done the part 3 on how they got me fucked up. I was going to keep everybody updated over the past year, but after COVID, there was just a lot of things that happened. So now I feel like I'm going to be more consistent about this part of my channel. But long story short, I am a landlord. I own one duplex in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I have a tenant that's upstairs and downstairs. I inherited a tenant when I bought the duplex back in 2019. And the new tenant, she's relatively new. She's been a complete issue since she's moved in. Not only has there been drug use, but drugs in the home. But there's also just been she has been assaulted several times by her significant other. My neighbor has been harassed by her significant other. He pulled a gun out on both of them. She's leaving trash. She's leaving furniture outside. She's just not taking care of the property and completely disregarding everything. She won't move out. It's only a month-to-month lease. So it's only supposed to be like a temporary, she was only supposed to be here temporarily, but now because of the eviction moratorium, they have allowed her to stay. Fortunately, because she's an irresponsible person, she hasn't paid. But the fact that the government did give away several $billions, not several, but a lot of money, Forsyth County was granted some of those funds. I was paid, but long story short, money doesn't take an excuse just tenants who are a nuisance. I totally understand that people have been affected by COVID. I like I said, I do have another tenant that does live upstairs. I was able to lower the rent. She was able to pay me fairly consistently throughout of COVID, even though she has been affected by it. She lost her job, but they're relatively respectful. They usually let me know when there's something kind of going on. Sorry, y'all, I just got a text. I was trying to read it. But long story short, they've usually let me know when things are wrong. Whenever they do say they're gonna pay me, it usually isn't a problem. So I usually don't have to charge them like late fees or anything like that. They're fairly responsible. But this other one, she's just been a nuisance. I've asked her to leave, but so here's my problem necessarily with the eviction moratorium is that, yes, we do live in a capitalistic country, and there are things about capitalism that does need to be regulated, that does need to be addressed. So therefore, I consider myself not a pure corporatist or oligarch, but I consider myself a compassionate capitalist. I do believe that the federal government in America, they do have the ultimate obligation to uphold the Constitution, which does protect property rights, which in many senses does endorse, even though it is a democratic republic, it does endorse capitalism. Of course, like we could go into like the whole history of capitalism and how America and many of the elite have been able to accumulate that wealth and different things like that. But that's for a different topic. But with that being said, the reason why I don't consider myself like a democratic socialist or a socialist or a communist is, for one, I have read Karl Marx. For two, I have studied socialism in depthly and these economic systems in depthly. And I do believe that, yes, even though capitalism is flawed, it does have somewhat of a democratic aspect to it when it's regulated and when it's in tune with the power of the people, not the power of the corporations or the oligarchs or the uber wealthy who are controlling the politicians. But with that being said, the federal government does have an obligation to take care of the American people, especially as a whole. That is one of the reasons why we do relinquish some of our power to the government, but we don't relinquish all of our power. We do allow them to regulate to an extent. And so in the time of COVID, I do believe that if you were affected by it, and the government told you to stay inside, that you may or may not have been essential, that you needed to work, or maybe that you needed to stay home, maybe you need to take care of somebody, you have family, you have kids, you have older elders. I completely understand. But at the same time, this is a year, this is going on nearly a year and a half since COVID has hit, and there are certain things that you should be responsible for. Yeah, I totally understand that the government gave out unemployment and stimulus checks and stuff like that. I do believe instead of giving out unemployment or putting everybody on the unemployment system, they should have just backstopped businesses' payroll. And I do believe at the beginning of this, they should have already came up to an agreement to either A, pay landlords, or B, figure out a program to make sure that landlords are taken care of. Now, they didn't do any of that. Then they waited literally to the following year of COVID, nearly like 11, 12 months. I don't know the exact dates off the top of my head, but y'all waited this long to finally have funds. You've barely given out the billions of dollars. Bureaucracy is slow. Local governments are slow. Municipalities are slow. These programs, they're all slow. These states are slow. And the reality is the federal government, especially the CDC, does not have the authority to tell me what to do with my private property. And no, this isn't a slavery issue. No, this isn't a race issue or a gender issue or any other kind of issue like that. This is purely, if a person is an irresponsible tenant, then the landlord should have every right to get rid of that tenant. And it's bigger than just the finance issue. But even with that being said, y'all should have thought about the landlords at the beginning, because that's your constitutional obligation. Excuse me, y'all. I had something to eat, and it's just kind of been, but neither here nor there. And so, and then to have people assume that I'm this uber wealthy person when I'm not. I would be lucky to clear 60 grand this year. I am just the average person who just works. I have my own business. I do breaking things. Yes, I do have a degree in social work, but I do social work as a hobby now. But I do back-breaking work, renovating, pressure washing, painting, carpentry, stuff that really requires me to exert physical energy. So therefore, I'm not doing extremely great, but I'm doing better than what I was. But neither here nor there. Like, I'm not BlackRock. I'm not Wall Street. I'm not one of these billionaire hedge funds. Like, I don't have the money to to take losses and losses and losses, and then to have the Forsyth County sit here and use an unconstitutional law. The Supreme Court has already said that the CDC does not have congressional authority. So they allowed the first eviction moratorium to lapse, and then they extended it because of Cori Bush and some of these progressive squad members, and which in part, I do feel bad, as I said before, but at the same time, I should be made whole. I shouldn't have to suffer. I shouldn't have to sit here and fight this woman tooth and nail. And then you sit here and you have these people who feel bad for these tenants. Well, what about me? I mean, I'm actually trying to take care of myself. I'm trying to be successful. I'm trying to progress. I'm trying to do things with my life to better my situation so that someday I could be able to start a family and I could be able to do various things. And I'm not taking advantage of anybody. I'm not sitting here, well, I don't understand COVID, so you should have my money. And it's not like I have this jacked up rent. My rent is very affordable. My conditions are very understandable, because like I also understand, like I said, I do have a tenant that lives upstairs. One day she was like, my significant other, he ended up having to pay some money for expenses, and that she was going to be late. And me being understanding, like I understand that. So I'm not going to sit here and tack on late fees. I'm not going to sit here and do this, that, and the third. I'm not going to sit here and pressure you. Just make sure that you pay me when you say that you can pay me. And if something does come up, just let me know. But then you also have other people, they're just sitting here trying to game the system. And I get it, like, do what you got to do to game the system. But at the same time, like, the system cannot sit here and tell me what to do with my private property. And that's just my understanding, that when you really read Karl Marx, and you really understand a lot of these socialistic countries and these communistic countries, many of them started by taking land, taking property from private citizens and nationalizing it, and then sitting here just redistributing it. Well, who is the federal government to take my property and redistribute it? Who is the federal government to sit here and tell me that they have my best interest at heart when they don't? I'm literally sitting here tooth and nail trying to exert my democratic rights. I'm sitting here trying to exert my the rights that I am granted as a citizen, the constitutional rights that I'm granted, and tooth and nail, these lawyers sitting here and they just don't care, and these judges don't care. And then half these people don't even follow the Supreme Court. They don't follow a federal law or state law or any kind of other kind of law. They just sit here and they just do whatever they want. And for the judge to can sit here and continue this unconstitutional CDC eviction moratorium is just beyond me. And then to not even allow me the right to challenge it, for me to be able to appeal it, for me to allow a higher court to hear my grievances is it's almost like I no longer have due process, that these tenants have all this right and me, I don't have any. And not as only unfair, but it's just a complete disgrace, and it's a complete disregard for what the founding fathers wrote. And yes, we can go into the whole like, well, Caleb, you're black and they didn't write anything for da da da. And I understand all of that. I truly do. And I understand, like, they use slavery as property rights, and that's a whole nother discussion for another day. But we're talking about, and with the amended Constitution, adding the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, I do not have rights now, and I should be able to invoke those rights in the court, and judges should respect that. And it's just, it's just weird, because you have these people, they feel like they have this law degree, and all you did was go to college and sit there and turn in your work, show up on time, and do your homework. That's the easiest way to get an A in college. And so, with that being said, the eviction moratorium, it needs to end. They need to be able to pay landlords, and they need to allow landlords to have the option to either keep tenants or to not keep tenants. And I understand there are different landlords who are not as understanding as me, and and I do feel sorry for those tenants, and I do feel sorry for people who are truly affected by COVID. But at the same time, life has to go back to normal, to some kind of normalcy. Democracy and the Constitution still has to prevail in this country. And these legislators and these judges and these politicians need to really get their act together, because the way that they handled the whole pandemic and all of the whole COVID and this is just beyond me. And to sit here and allow the CDC, they have many problems. Dr. Fauci is a problem. Them telling me that I have to have my steaks well done is a problem. Them telling me that I can't eat my eggs sunny side up is a problem. Them giving grant money to Wuhan, that is a problem in itself. But it's just beyond me that these people just don't even care. That these judges don't even care. And you can sit here and object, and you can do whatever, and they don't even care. So that's just how they got me fucked up. This is part 3. Like, share, subscribe, and y'all be safe.